Hello and welcome to the Chessmate.Inc channel. So far, we've learned how the pieces move, the special rules, and the concept of checkmate. But there is another situation in chess that can completely change the outcome of the game. This situation is called stalemate. A stalemate occurs when it's a player's turn to move, but they have no legal moves and their king is not under attack. In other words, it's not check, but the player cannot make any move. In this case, the game ends in a draw. Let's explore this situation together with a few examples. On the board, we have the white and black kings and two white rooks. Today, rooks have cornered the black king. It's white's turn to move. If the white rook moves to the left, it gives check. The black king has no squares left to escape.
All the squares the king could move to are controlled by the white rooks. In this case, the black king is checkmated. So, white wins and black loses.
Now, let's go back to the initial position. But this time, the white rook moves diagonally toward the black king. In this case, the rook is not giving check because rooks cannot attack diagonally. It's black's turn, but the black king has no legal moves. The rook is threatening the squares the black king could move to, and it's protected by the other rook. This situation is a stalemate. The game ends in a draw. Now let's add a black pawn to the board. If the rook again moves diagonally, will this still be a stalemate? No, it won't. Even though the black king cannot move, the black pawn can. Since the pawn has not moved yet, it can advance either 1 or 2 squares. Let's move the pawn 2 squares forward. The white king captures the pawn, and it's black's turn again. But the black king still can't move. Now it's a stalemate again. Once more, the result is a draw. Let's change the position and try it with the queen. If the queen moves to the top rank and gives check, the black king has no squares left to escape. That's checkmate. But if the queen moves next to the white king instead, it's not check. The black king is not under attack, but all the squares it could move to are controlled. This is another stalemate. Let's add a black pawn to this position. As we said, it's black's turn. The black king cannot move, but this is not a stalemate, because now the black pawn can still move.
But what if there was a white pawn directly in front of the black pawn?
Yes, then the black king would again be unable to move, and that would be a stalemate. Now let's try the same idea with a knight. The knight moves, and it's black's turn. The knight is not giving check, but it's attacking all the squares the black king could move to. So the king is not in check, but has no legal moves. Once again, the game ends in a stalemate. Now let's see what happens with a bishop. The bishop moves, and it's black's turn again. The bishop doesn't give check, but it controls the squares the black king could move to. So the king is not under attack, but since it can't move, the game ends in a stalemate. We can do the same with a rook. The rook moves without giving check, but all the squares around the black king are threatened. So once again, it's a stalemate. Of course, we could show many more examples, but the ones we've discussed cover the entire concept of stalemate. Stalemate is one of the most elegant demonstrations of defensive art in chess. Sometimes, true mastery lies not in winning, but in not losing. In this lesson, we learned what a stalemate is, how it occurs, and how to recognize and use it on the board. Remember, every move in chess has a purpose, and sometimes, even the quietest move can completely change the course of the game. In the next lesson, we'll study the pawn's special move, en passant. Don't forget to move on to the next video, and subscribe to keep improving your chess skills. Chessmate.Inc wishes you a day full of chess.